The strange signals began on a Tuesday. At first, the scientists at NASA thought it was just noise from a distant pulsar, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. By Wednesday, everyone knew. We were not alone. Captain Ethan Mason stared at the briefing screen, his coffee growing cold beside him. After 15 years in the United Space Force, he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. "The signals are coming from a fleet," said General Howard, his face grim in the dim light of the war room. "Over 300 ships, approaching from beyond Jupiter's orbit." Ethan ran a hand through his short brown hair. "Hostile. Unknown. But they're not broadcasting on any frequencies we've shared with our allies." The U.S. Defiant had been Ethan's command for only 6 months, the newest ship in Earth's small fleet, equipped with experimental technology that most considered too unstable for actual combat. Now it might be humanity's only hope. The screens around the room flashed red. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," a young officer announced, her voice shaking. The image that appeared showed a being unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Its skin was pale blue with shifting patterns that seemed to move like oil on water. 4 eyes blinked independently across a wide face. "People of Earth," it spoke in perfect English. "I am High Commander Zixforal of the Galactic Concordat, representing over 200 civilized species. We have been observing your world for some time." The room fell silent. Ethan felt his heart pounding in his chest. "Your planet possesses resources valuable to the Concordat. We offer you a simple choice. Surrender these resources willingly and join us as a protectorate species, or face the consequences of resistance." General Howard stepped forward. "This is General Howard of Earth's United Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization, but we cannot surrender our planet's resources without discussion." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Discussion? Your species has barely mastered basic space travel. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses laughable." The camera view widened, showing a vast command center with dozens of different alien species, all appearing amused. "We have reviewed your military capabilities," Zixforal continued. "Your entire fleet would not withstand a single volley from one of our scout ships." Ethan felt anger rise in his chest. The Defiant might be untested, but its quantum shield technology was unlike anything ever developed. If it worked. The alien gave them 48 hours to decide, then the transmission ended. The emergency council meeting that followed included leaders from every major nation. Many argued for immediate surrender. "We've all seen their ships on the long-range scans," said the European president. "They outgun us 1,000 to 1. "Surrender means slavery," countered the African Union representative. "We've been through that before. Never again." Ethan stood when called upon. "The Defiant's quantum shields could give us a fighting chance. They're untested in combat, but the simulations show they can absorb and redirect energy from attacks. 1 experimental ship against 300 proven warships," someone scoffed. "Sometimes all you need is 1 ship to turn the tide," Ethan replied. 1 ship to show them that humans don't surrender easily." The vote was close. 53% for resistance, 47% for surrender. Ethan received his orders directly from the Secretary General herself. "Captain Mason, you are hereby appointed commander of Earth's defense fleet. Your primary mission is to protect Earth at all costs." Back aboard the Defiant, Ethan addressed his nervous crew. "They think we're weak because we're young. They think we're primitive because our technology is different. They're laughing at us." He looked around at the determined faces. "Let's show them that underestimating humanity is the last mistake they'll ever make." As the alien Armada approached, Earth prepared for war. And aboard the U.S. Defiant, Captain Ethan Mason prepared to make history, or die trying. Ethan stared at his new fleet. 50 ships of various sizes and designs, hastily armed and crewed by volunteers. Against 300 alien warships, it seemed like suicide. But it was all Earth had. "Captain Mason, your science officer has arrived," announced the ship's eye. Ethan turned to see a woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, widened slightly when she saw him. "Dr. Wright," he said, keeping his voice professional. "Welcome aboard the Defiant." "Captain," Olivia Wright replied coolly. "I see they finally gave you a ship worth destroying." 3 years ago, they had been married. Now they could barely look at each other. But Olivia was the leading expert on quantum physics, and the Defiant's shields were based on her research. "The shields aren't working," she said, getting straight to business. "They fail after absorbing too much energy. I need to fix that before we face the Concordat." Ethan nodded. "You have 36 hours. Just then, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez entered the bridge. He walked with the confidence of a man who knew he was good at his job. Maybe too good. "Reporting for duty, Captain. I hear we're going to kick some alien butt." Ethan sighed. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, tactical officer. Your record shows impressive skills and a problem with authority." Sam grinned. "Only bad authority, sir." Ethan introduced him to Olivia, then led them both to the war room where Chief Engineer Diane Collins was already waiting. She was older than most of the crew, with lines around her eyes from years squinting at engine schematics. "The engines are running hot," Collins reported. "This ship wasn't meant for combat. We push it too hard, it'll fall apart." "We don't have a choice," Ethan replied. "We need every advantage." The door opened again, and a thin man with glasses hurried in. "Captain, I'm Alan Peters, Communications. I've been studying the alien transmissions and found something interesting." He pulled up a display showing wave patterns. "Their communication system uses a different mathematical base than ours. But there are patterns, rhythms that repeat. I think we might be able to predict their battle commands if we keep listening." Ethan felt a small spark of hope. "Good work, Peters. Keep on it." The meeting continued as they discussed battle plans. Outside, the sky was filled with the lights of ships preparing for war. Civilians were being moved to underground shelters. The world held its breath. Later, Ethan found Olivia in the lab, surrounded by holographic equations. "Any progress?" he asked. She didn't look up. "The shield matrix can't handle the energy conversion. When it fails, it'll fail completely. We need those shields. Live." She finally looked at him. "Don't call me that. Not anymore. We have less than 2 days before they attack." "I know that." She pushed away from her desk. "I'm trying, Ethan. But this is technology we barely understand." Their argument was interrupted by an alert. The main screen showed the alien fleet moving closer. "They're not waiting," Ethan realized. "They're attacking now." Throughout the ship, alarm bells rang. Ethan rushed to the bridge, calling orders into his communicator. "All hands to battle stations." "This is not a drill." Olivia followed him. "The shields aren't ready." "Then we'll have to be smarter than them," Ethan replied, sliding into the captain's chair. "Rodriguez, evasive maneuvers. Collins, give me everything the engines have. Peters, monitor their communications." Outside, the first alien ships appeared. Massive vessels that made Earth's fleet look like toys. "Sir," Rodriguez said quietly, "those ships are big enough to crack the planet." Ethan nodded. "Then we better not let them get close enough to try." As the Defiant moved into position at the head of Earth's defense fleet, Ethan looked at his crew, his ex-wife, a rebellious pilot, an overworked engineer, and a communications expert who might have found their only advantage. "Let's show them what humans can do," he said as the first alien weapons began to charge. The first alien shots lit up space like silent lightning. 2 Earth ships exploded instantly. Ethan gripped his chair as the Defiant shook violently. "Shields," he shouted. Olivia's fingers flew across her console. "Activating now." A blue glow surrounded the Defiant just as an alien beam struck. The ship trembled but held together. "Shields at 60%, Olivia reported. "One more hit like that, and they'll fail completely." Rodriguez twisted the ship into an impossible turn, barely avoiding another beam. We can't outrun them. Sir. Ethan studied the tactical display. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their attacks precisely coordinated. Earth's fleet was scattered, firing desperately but causing little damage. Peters, what are you getting from their communications? Ethan asked. The communications officer adjusted his headset. They're speaking too fast for me to translate, but there's a pattern to their maneuvers. They always attack in groups of 3, and they rotate clockwise after each volley. Ethan nodded. Rodriguez, predict their next rotation. Collins, divert all power to forward weapons. What about life support? Collins asked. We won't need it if we're dead. Do it. As 3 alien ships turned toward them, Rodriguez fired the engines at full power, shooting the Defiant directly between 2 of the vessels. They fired, but the Defiant was already gone, and their beams struck each other instead. 1 alien ship exploded. The bridge crew cheered. They killed their own ship. Rodriguez shouted, amazed. Peters was listening intently to his headset. Captain, they're confused. Their formations are breaking down. But the celebration was short-lived. A massive alien ship, 10 times larger than the others, moved toward Earth. Smaller ships surrounded it protectively. That must be High Commander Zixforal's ship, Ethan said. And it's heading straight for us. Just then, Olivia looked up from her station, her eyes wide. Ethan, I need to get to the engine room. I have an idea. Go, he ordered. Collins, go with her. As they left, the ship rocked again. The shields flickered and died. We're defenseless, Rodriguez said quietly. Ethan pointed to Earth's moon, visible through the view screen. Get us behind the moon. Use it as cover. The Defiant raced toward the moon, the alien fleet in pursuit. Smaller Earth ships provided covering fire, many sacrificing themselves to buy the Defiant time. In the engine room, Olivia and Collins worked frantically. Sweat dripped down their faces as they rerouted power connections. The frequency is wrong, Olivia muttered. We've been trying to absorb all types of energy, but we need to tune it specifically to their weapons. How do we do that? Collins asked. We need to analyze the exact frequency of their beams. Olivia hit her communicator. Peters, I need a recording of the alien weapon signatures. Sending now, came the reply. As the data arrived, Olivia smiled for the first time in days. That's it. Their weapons all operate on the same quantum frequency. If we reverse our shields to match it exactly. Collins caught on. We could absorb their energy and use it to power our own weapons. On the bridge, Ethan was running out of options. The moon provided temporary cover, but the alien fleet was surrounding them. Olivia, please tell me you have something, he called over the communicator. Her voice came back, excited. We do. New shield frequency ready. But Ethan, we'll only get 1 shot at this. 1 shot is all we need, he replied. Rodriguez, take us out from behind the moon. Head straight for the main alien ship. That's suicide. Rodriguez protested. Not if Olivia's right. Ethan looked at the young lieutenant. Sometimes you have to drive straight into the fire to show them you're not afraid. Rodriguez nodded and turned the ship. The Defiant emerged from behind the moon, engines blazing, heading directly toward the massive alien mothership. Shields ready. Olivia's voice came through. Activate on my mark. As the alien ship fired its massive beam, Ethan gave the order. Now, the alien beam struck the Defiant with blinding force. Everyone on the bridge held their breath, waiting for the end. But instead of exploding, the ship glowed bright blue. The shields not only held, they seemed to grow stronger. It's working. Olivia shouted through the communicator. The shields are absorbing their energy. Ethan couldn't believe his eyes. The shield meter was rising instead of falling. Rodriguez, status. All systems operational, sir. And Rodriguez paused, checking his readings. Our weapon systems are showing power levels at 200% capacity. The shields are converting their attack energy to power our weapons, Olivia explained, her voice excited. But we can't hold it for long. The system will overload in 30 seconds. Ethan made his decision instantly. Target their main weapons array. Fire everything we've got. The Defiant released a blast of energy that cut through space like a knife. It struck the alien mothership's forward section, causing a massive explosion that ripped through its hull. On the bridge of his damaged vessel, High Commander Zixvorl couldn't believe what he was seeing. His second-in-command approached cautiously. High Commander, the human vessel has damaged our primary weapons. 3 of our escort ships have been destroyed. Impossible, Zixvorl hissed. They are primitives. They appear to have technology that can absorb and redirect energy, the officer reported. Our standard tactics are ineffective. Zixvorl's 4 eyes narrowed. Focus all remaining ships on that vessel. I want it destroyed. Back on the Defiant, the crew was celebrating their first real victory, but Ethan knew it wouldn't last. They're regrouping, Peters warned, monitoring the alien communications. All ships are being ordered to target us specifically. Collins called up from engineering. Captain, the shield converter is fried. We won't be able to pull that trick again. Ethan studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was surrounding them, cutting off escape routes, but something about their formation caught his eye. Rodriguez, do you notice anything strange about how they're positioning their ships? The tactical officer frowned. They're all on the same plane. It's like they're fighting on a flat surface. Ethan suddenly realized what was happening. They're not used to 3-dimensional combat. Their tactics are all based on 2-dimensional thinking. What does that mean for us? Rodriguez asked. It means we can use the full range of space. Ethan leaned forward in his chair. Rodriguez, take us straight up, perpendicular to their attack plane. The Defiant shot upward while the alien ships tried to adjust. Their formation broke apart as they struggled to change direction. Now dive back down behind them, Ethan ordered. As the Defiant plunged down, it fired at the exposed rear sections of 3 alien ships, destroying them instantly. It's working, Rodriguez shouted. But their success was short-lived. A blast from another direction caught them off guard, knocking out one of their engines. They're learning, Ethan said grimly. Peters, any update on their communications? Sir, they're communicating less. I think they're trying to keep us from predicting their moves. The battle continued for hours. Earth's fleet was down to 23 ships. The aliens had lost over 30 vessels, but still outnumbered humans by more than 7-1. Just when it seemed the Defiant might have a chance to regroup, a massive energy surge came from the damaged alien mothership. They're powering up something big, Collins warned. Readings off the charts. A blinding beam shot from the mothership, cutting through 3 Earth vessels before they could even attempt to evade. They're targeting Earth directly, Peters shouted. Ethan watched in horror as the beam struck somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Even from orbit, they could see the massive explosion and rising steam cloud. Millions of people, Olivia whispered, looking at the readings. Ethan's face hardened. This ends now. Rodriguez, plot a course directly for that mothership's bridge. Sir. Rodriguez looked shocked. You heard me, Lieutenant. If they want to target our home, we'll show them what happens when humans have nothing left to lose. As the Defiant turned toward the alien mothership, Ethan opened a channel to all remaining Earth ships. This is Captain Mason. Follow my lead. Today we show the Concordat that humanity will never surrender. The remaining Earth ships formed up behind the Defiant, a desperate arrow aimed at the heart of the alien mothership. Ethan knew most of them wouldn't survive, but they had no choice. The alien beam was charging for another shot at Earth. We need a plan beyond fly at them and hope, Rodriguez said, his hand steady on the controls despite his fear. Olivia's voice came through the communicator. Captain, I've been analyzing the data from our shield test. The energy conversion created a unique feedback pattern in their weapons system. What does that mean in simple terms? Ethan asked. It means their systems are vulnerable to specific energy frequencies. If we could generate a massive energy pulse at exactly the right frequency, we might be able to temporarily disable their weapons. Can we create such a pulse? Ethan asked. Collins joined the conversation, not with our regular systems, but if we overload the main reactor and channel it through the shield emitters, we'd destroy the ship. Ethan finished. Not necessarily, Olivia countered. We could set it to build slowly, fire the pulse, and then shut down before we reach critical. We'd lose power for several minutes, but the ship might survive. Ethan considered their options as the alien mothership grew larger on the view screen. Do it, but we need to get closer first. As they approached, alien fighter ships swarmed around them. The Earth fleet engaged, drawing fire away from the Defiant. Peters suddenly straightened in his chair. Captain, I've intercepted a communication from their fleet. Some of the alien ships are questioning High Commander Zixvorl's orders. What? Why? Ethan asked. They're concerned about his tactics. Apparently, destroying inhabited planets violates some Concordat rule about preserving potential resource worlds. Ethan saw an opportunity. Can you broadcast on their frequencies? Yes, but they won't understand our language, Peters replied. They translated our communications before. They have some way to understand us, Ethan insisted. Broadcast this. Attention Concordat vessels. High Commander Zixvorl has violated your own laws by attacking civilian populations. We seek combat only with his vessel, not your entire fleet. Peters sent the message as the Defiant dodged incoming fire. Multiple alien vessels are breaking formation, Rodriguez reported with surprise. They're pulling back. Not enough of them, Ethan noted grimly. Dozens of ships still protected the mothership. The Defiant shook as a direct hit struck their hull. Sparks flew on the bridge. Hull breach on Deck 5. Collins reported. Emergency bulkheads holding. We're within range for the pulse, Olivia announced. Starting power buildup now. The lights on the bridge dimmed as energy was diverted to the shield emitters. The temperature rose as cooling systems went offline. Zixvorl is hailing us, Peters said. The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his 4 eyes glowing with anger. Captain Mason, your pathetic attempt to divide my fleet has failed. Surrender now, and I will spare what remains of your planet. Ethan stood tall despite the sweat running down his face from the rising heat. You fired on innocent civilians. There will be no surrender. Then you will die with your primitive vessel, Zixvorl snarled. Pulse ready in 30 seconds, Olivia reported. Ethan cut the communication. Rodriguez, get us as close to their main weapons array as possible. The Defiant dodged and weaved through enemy fire, taking hits but pressing forward. The giant alien weapon was beginning to glow, preparing to fire on Earth again. 10 seconds to pulse, Olivia counted down. We're not close enough, Rodriguez said through gritted teeth. 5 seconds. An alien beam struck the Defiant's rear section. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Engine 2 is gone, Collins shouted. 3, 2, 1, now. A blinding blue light erupted from the Defiant, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. When it reached the alien mothership, the massive vessel seemed to shudder. Its lights flickered and went dark. On the Defiant, all systems shut down at once. They drifted in space, powerless and vulnerable. Did it work? Ethan asked into the darkness. As emergency lights slowly came on, they could see the mothership through the view screen. Its weapon had stopped charging, but smaller systems were already coming back online. We only have minutes before they recover, Olivia warned. Ethan looked at his crew, their faces illuminated by the dim red emergency lights. Then let's make those minutes count. In the dim red emergency lighting, Ethan turned to Peters. Can you get any systems online? Communications are still working on backup power, Peters replied. But that's about it. Send a message to all remaining Earth ships. Tell them to target the mothership's engines while its defenses are down. As Peters sent the message, Olivia and Collins worked frantically in the engine room, trying to restore power. "The reactor coolant system is offline," Collins reported, wiping sweat from her forehead. "If we restart now, we'll melt down." Olivia stared at the engine schematics, thinking hard. "What if we vent the excess heat directly into space? We'd lose atmosphere in the engine section," Collins warned. "Better than losing the whole ship." Olivia began rerouting systems. "Everyone clear the engine room and seal it off." On the alien mothership, High Commander Zix-Forel raged at his crew. "Restore weapons immediately." "The human energy pulse has damaged our main power relays," an officer replied nervously. "Repairs will take at least 10 minutes. "Unacceptable." Zix-Forel slammed his fist down. "Bring the secondary weapons online." Outside, the remaining Earth ships pressed their attack, hitting the mothership's engines with everything they had. Small explosions bloomed across its hull. Back on the Defiant, Rodriguez noticed something on his tactical display, which was running on minimal power. "Captain, 3 Concordat ships are breaking away from the fleet and moving to protect the mothership's engines. But 4 others are holding back, not engaging at all. The division in their ranks is growing," Ethan realized. He turned to Peters. "Broadcast on all Concordat frequencies. Tell them their commander is risking their entire fleet for a personal vendetta." As Peters sent the message, Olivia's voice came through the communicator. "Engine room sealed and venting atmosphere. Attempting emergency restart." The lights on the bridge flickered. Control panels began to light up one by one. "It's working," Collins reported. "We'll have minimal power in 30 seconds, but no shields and only basic weapons." Ethan made a quick decision. "Rodriguez, as soon as we have engine power, take us directly toward the mothership's bridge section." "Sir, without shields, we'll be destroyed before we get close," Rodriguez protested. "They're still recovering too, and their fleet is confused." Ethan pointed to the view screen, where several alien ships seemed to be moving aimlessly. "This is our only chance." Power returned to the Defiant's engines. They hummed to life, pushing the damaged ship forward. "Several Concordat ships are hailing us," Peters announced with surprise. "Put them through," Ethan ordered. An alien face appeared on screen, similar to Zix-Forel, but with green skin patterns instead of blue. "Human vessel. This is Sub-Commander Krelox. Many in our fleet question the High Commander's judgment. His attack on your civilian population violates our most sacred laws." "Then help us stop him," Ethan replied. "We cannot directly oppose our commander," Krelox said, "but we will not prevent your approach to his vessel." The alien ships moved aside, creating a path to the mothership. Ethan nodded gratefully. "Rodriguez, full speed ahead." The Defiant shot toward the mothership, which was still struggling to restore its systems. On its bridge, Zix-Forel watched in disbelief. "They're coming directly for us," his officer reported, "and our own ships are letting them pass." "Traitors," Zix-Forel hissed. "Bring any weapons online. Now." The mothership managed to fire a single beam that grazed the Defiant's hull, tearing off a section of plating. But the human ship kept coming. "We've lost pressure on Deck 3, Collins reported. "Sealing it off." "Weapons range in 5 seconds, Rodriguez announced. Ethan stood firm. "Target their bridge with everything we have." The Defiant fired all operational weapons. The blast struck the mothership's command center, causing massive explosions. Through the view screen, Ethan could see fires breaking out across the alien vessel. "Direct hit," Rodriguez shouted. But their victory was short-lived. The mothership, though badly damaged, fired its secondary weapons. The blast tore through the Defiant's forward section. "Hull breach on the bridge." Peters yelled as warning sirens blared. Emergency force fields activated, holding in the atmosphere, but the ship was critically damaged. Systems failed across all decks. "We need to retreat," Olivia urged through the communicator. "The ship can't take any more." As Rodriguez struggled to turn the dying ship away from the mothership, Ethan saw more Concordat vessels moving toward them, but instead of attacking, they positioned themselves between the Defiant and the mothership. "Captain," Peters said with amazement, "they're protecting us." The Defiant limped away from the battle, protected by the rebel Concordat ships. Ethan looked around his damaged bridge. Smoke filled the air. Wires hung from the ceiling. But his crew was alive. "Status report," he ordered, his voice hoarse from the smoke. "Engine power at 15%. Collins replied. "Life support failing on decks 2 through 5. We're running on backup systems only." "The mothership?" Ethan asked. Rodriguez checked his damaged console. "Their main weapons are still offline. The command center took heavy damage, but they're already beginning repairs." Peters was listening intently to his headset. "Sir, more Concordat ships are joining Sub-Commander Krylok's. Nearly 1/3 of their fleet now opposes Zixvorl. But the other 2/3 still follow him," Ethan said grimly. "And that's enough to destroy Earth." The bridge fell silent as they faced the truth. They had fought bravely, but it wasn't enough. Then Olivia's voice came through the communicator. "Ethan, I need you in the lab. Now." He found her surrounded by holographic displays, her face lit by their blue glow. "The shield modification worked better than we thought," she said without looking up. "I've analyzed the data from our pulse attack. We didn't just disable their systems temporarily. We created a cascading failure in their power grid." "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. "It means if we hit them again with the right frequency, we could trigger a chain reaction through their entire fleet." Hope sparked in Ethan's eyes. "Can we generate another pulse?" "Not from the Defiant. We're too damaged." Olivia finally looked at him. "But we could send the frequency data to Earth, if they modify their defensive grid to emit a pulse at this exact frequency. It might disable the entire Concordat fleet at once," Ethan finished. He squeezed her shoulder. "Send the data immediately." As they worked, Peters contacted them. "Captain, High Commander Zixvorl is addressing all ships, including ours." They rushed back to the bridge. On the view screen, Zixvorl's face appeared, his blue skin now pale with rage. "This is your final warning," the alien commander hissed. "Surrender or be destroyed. To the traitors in my fleet, return to formation or face execution for treason." Ethan opened a channel to respond. "This is Captain Mason of Earth. You fired on our civilians. You violated your own laws. Many of your fleet now stand against you, and this attack now. You dare to lecture me?" Zixvorl laughed. "Your primitive vessel is barely functioning. Your planet's defenses are in ruins. I will make an example of your world that the galaxy will remember for millennia." The transmission cut off. Rodriguez looked up from his console. "Sir, the mothership is moving toward Earth again, and they've restored partial weapons capacity." "What about our transmission to Earth?" Ethan asked. "Sent and received," Olivia confirmed. "They're implementing the modifications now, but it will take time." "Time we don't have," Ethan said, looking at the tactical display. Though damaged, the mothership was still vastly powerful. It would reach Earth in minutes. "There's one way to buy more time," Rodriguez said quietly. "If we overload our remaining engine and ram the mothership's weapons section." "No," Olivia said firmly. "There has to be another way." Just then, Sub-Commander Krylok hailed them. "Captain Mason, we have contacted the Concordat High Council. Zixvorl's actions have been deemed unlawful, but their nearest forces are hours away. We need to stop him now," Ethan replied. Krylok hesitated. "My ships will engage his loyalists to create a diversion. This will give you one chance to strike at Zixvorl directly." Ethan nodded. "Thank you." As the rebel Concordat ships engaged their former allies, the Defiant made its final approach. Earth's defense grid was nearly ready, but the mothership was already charging its main weapon. "One shot," Ethan told his crew. "That's all we have." The Defiant fired its remaining weapons at the precise spot where they had damaged the mothership earlier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a massive explosion tore through the alien vessel's hull. At that exact moment, Earth's defense grid activated. A blue wave spread outward, washing over both human and alien ships. The Concordat vessels froze in space, their systems disabled. In the silence that followed, Peters received a transmission from Earth. "They did it," he said, smiling for the first time in days. "All alien ships are powerless." 3 months later, Ethan stood in the United Nations Assembly as the new Concordat representatives signed a peace treaty. Earth would join the galactic community not as a conquered world, but as an equal member. "They laughed at us," Olivia said, standing beside him. "They're not laughing anymore." Ethan smiled. One ship, that's all it took to change everything.